Now that you have your stance down, you're going to want to work on your grip. Gripping the pistol is simple. You put your strong hand up around the grip with the webbing of the hand as high up on the pistol as possible. Your trigger finger at this point should be able to comfortably reach the trigger without stretching or crunching down. There should be a reasonable amount of space left on the opposite side of the grip to allow you to place some of the palm of your support hand into the pocket. Cant the support hand at a downward angle, and this will lock your wrist. You point the support thumb forward toward the target and you lay your strong thumb on top of it. It doesn't have to be straight along the side of the gun, and in fact on certain pistols this will cause you to ride the slide lock lever and cause it to fail to lock back when the magazine runs dry. Later on, when I shoot a string of fire that involves reloading on the clock, you'll see that the gun I'm shooting, which is a SIG P226, which has a slide lock lever pretty far back, actually doesn't lock back when the gun runs dry. I left it in there so you can see it when I'm shooting. Some people like to tuck one thumb over the other thumb. Personally, I find that this makes for less effective grip, but it might be different for you. So try it however it works out for you, how you feel like you can best control the gun, that's best. You should be applying firm pressure with both hands. The pressure should be as strong as you can make it without overly tensing up the firearms or your trigger finger, which could make movement difficult. I plan to make a more in-depth video on this topic, but there's a number of good videos on YouTube, and you can seek them out and find out what to do as far as improving on your grip. Just remember that bullseye shooters will often say they need to hold the gun very loosely, and that works for them. The issue here, though, is we're going to be controlling recoil. We want to shoot quickly and accurately. If you don't grip the gun with a reasonable amount of strength, you're not going to be able to control the recoil. It's not a death grip where you can't move your trigger finger, but it's got to be really firm. Chances are you're not holding the gun strongly enough. Now, let's move on to the draw. I've heard every complaint under the sun about why someone failed the qualifier and was pulled off the job, and a lot of those complaints center around this retention device you have in your security holster. Some people even complain that they're required to reactivate it between strings of fire. It's there for a purpose. You're never going to man your post with retention devices defeated, so what the key is here is you need to practice drawing your unloaded pistol at home and defeating that retention device and making sure that it becomes second nature. Do it a couple times each day before and after getting dressed for work. And you should be able to defeat that retention device on your holster and grip the pistol in one single move. It takes too much time to move to unsnap and then you move to grip. What you need to do is unsnap as you move your hand into the proper gripping motion. If you don't have a snap on your holster, but you have some sort of hood, you need to thumb down the hood as your hand is coming down on the grip of the gun. Once again, there are different ways to defeat retention devices. Every holster is different. Some of them have thumb straps, some of them have thumb and finger straps. You can see here, this is a Safariland SS3 holster. It has a level 3 security retention device. So what that means is there's a thumb strap that needs to be broken, there's a strap that's broken by the middle finger, and the gun needs to be tilted backwards and pulled out in that direction. Now, if you're working off something like this Uncle Mike's, there's a thumb strap. This is a level 2 or 3, depending on who you ask. There's a thumb strap, and the rear of the gun needs to be twisted towards the body as you pull it out. Some of them don't require that twisting motion. Then this thigh holster here is a Safariland that has a hood. You push down on the hood and flip it forward. Now, once again, no matter what your retention device is, the hand moves onto the gun, it defeats the retention device. As it does so, forms a good grip and pulls the gun out of the holster. One swift, quick move. Remember that it's very difficult to quickly shift your grip during the process of bringing your gun up on your target. So in general, however your hand is placed on the gun when it pulls the gun out of the holster, that's probably how it's going to be positioned on the gun during firing. If you get some terrible crooked grip on the gun, chances are your string of fire is going to be equally awkward. You can't adjust during the presentation. So get a good grip as you're pulling the gun out. When it comes to drawing, once again, you need to practice, practice, practice. You do this at home and it's free. I know it's boring, I know it's tedious, and it's not nearly as fun as sitting on your couch and drinking beer and eating Doritos. But if you're having difficulty passing this qualification, this is where you might be able to pick up some points, as a slow and poor draw has effects that just ripple down through every aspect of your shooting. And on top of it, it just might save your life at some point in the future. If you draw your pistol, during this qualification, you draw it 11 times. If you can shave half a second off of every single draw, that's 5.5 seconds of total time that you get back that you're allowed to take for your shots. And that's significant, and it can actually help you take more time and take more accurate shots. So remember, you gotta pay attention to how you draw your gun. Now, people will perform some sort of weird isometric push-pull movement when they drive the gun out to the target. They're pushing out with their strong hand while they're pulling back with the support hand at the same time. It's much easier to feel than it is to describe. I know people do this because they feel it's more stable and controlled, but what it is slow. So instead of doing this, think about literally pulling the gun outward with your support hand while you push it outward with your strong hand. So what this means is both hands are driving the gun out. One isn't driving it out and the other one's pulling it back. So you might be surprised how quickly and easily the gun flies out to full extension. I'm going to assume that everyone hopefully has a general understanding of sight alignment, but in case you don't, basically you focus on the front sight, you place it centered between the rear sight posts, you line up the tops of all 3 posts, you put the sight picture over the target, and you squeeze the trigger without disturbing the sights. It's easy to say, it's easy to understand, but somehow it seems like it's hard to do. The best way to get good sight alignment while you're pulling the trigger is to dry fire practice at home. It's free and it's going to help a lot if you're having difficulty. Once again, I'm probably going to do a more detailed video about this in the future, but there's plenty of other videos out there right now that you can reference.